Don't be fooled by this shabby hat. Beneath it hides great business acumen. This young black boy named Bernard is a shoe shiner, but watch closely, he deliberately chose to set up his stand in front of the bank so that all his customers would be wealthy white men. He isn't concerned with the few dollars he makes shining shoes. Rather, he works slowly so he can overhear the financial secrets the white men discuss while they wait. As soon as they left, the young boy would write them down in a notebook. All he really wants is the valuable financial knowledge he overheard. Since childhood, he knew his lifelong dream was to become a banker. This is Texas in 1939, a place where black people are severely oppressed and discriminated against.
Hey, what are you doing up there, boy? You spying on these white people's business? Huh? Get back here!
His father sadly tells him his dream is impossible, but Bernard's eyes show determination despite all the odds. 15 years later, the adult Bernard moves to Los Angeles with his wife, Eunice, and children. Racial discrimination here is not as severe as back home, so he decides to start his business here. The family of 3 has to live in a dilapidated utility room of a relative. However, Bernard promises his wife that they will move out soon. He starts as a real estate agent and searches for homes for sale everywhere in the city. Through careful observation, he finds that the black community in Los Angeles is overcrowded, while the white community still has many empty homes. Black people have rental needs and financial strength, but there is no market. This is a great business opportunity for real estate speculation and leasing. He spots a white-owned apartment building with weeds on the front door, clearly not in very good condition. Yet, he only saw the advantage of the house's location, which is adjacent to the black area. He went to the owner and said, "You only rented out half the apartment. Why don't you sell it to me? I'll give you $30,000 now, and I'll give you another $5,000 when I rent out all the rooms." Although the owner is impressed by his idea, he doesn't want to engage in risky business. Bernard expressed understanding. Before leaving, he glanced at the owner's calendar, which indicated it was a gift from a local bank manager. So an idea came to him. He said goodbye to the owner and went straight to the bank, where he found the manager who sent the calendar. The manager's secretary, who discriminates against black people, refused to present him to the manager.
I'm sorry, Mr. Reed is out. May I take a message?
I have pretty good eyesight and I can clearly read the nameplate on his desk.
I'm sorry, I misspoke. Mr. Reed can't meet with you right now, but I could take a message.
He waited for a few hours at the bank's door, and when the manager came out, he immediately stopped him. He said, "I know one of your important clients, and the business I'm doing will benefit him, and I hope you can approve a loan for me." But the bank manager rejected him without a second thought. That night, he received a call from the owner. The owner asked him,
"Did you use my name to try and get a loan from Mr. Reed at Mid-City Bank?"
Well, in a manner of speaking, yes.
And do you think that follows normal business customs?
No.
Good. Well, at least we can agree on that.
he had no choice but to apologize. Unexpectedly, the owner did not blame him, but was impressed that he believed he would not give up until he achieved his goal. The owner decided to guarantee the loan for him, so he got the first loan of his life from the bank and bought the property. An old white lady just returned home from shopping when she saw a black man at her door.
"What are you doing here?"
The black man calmly replied, "I'm renovating the apartment building." The old lady spoke with a mean face. "Workers like you must be careful." Bernard replied, "Don't worry, this is my building, and I will definitely take good care of it."
"Don't you sass me, boy. This is a white building. You can't own this place."
The old lady returned to her house in a rage, and the police arrived shortly after. They told Bernard that an old lady called the police and then asked him if he was pretending to be the owner and contradicting her.
No, he owns the building.
I'm not talking to you.
I do own the building, officer. All the paperwork's filed downtown.
Suddenly, Bernard pulled out a copy of the property deed. It turned out he anticipated trouble, so he was prepared in advance. The police realized that the house truly belonged to him, so they left in a huff. That night, Bernard returned to the apartment building. The old lady saw him at the door and immediately demanded he leave because it was not renovation time.
You can't be here after 6 p.m.
A contractor can't be here after 6 p.m., Miss Cooper. I'm a resident. I'm moving in.
And a few days later, she moved out in a rage because she did not want to live in the same building with black people. As soon as the old lady left, Bernard rented her house to a black woman. As expected, the market for black tenants was huge, just as he had predicted. The building filled up quickly, and Bernard gave the agreed-upon follow-up payment to the previous owner. The former owner was so impressed with Bernard that he offered to start a business with him. Bernard would select the house and calculate the income, and the old owner would negotiate the deal and sign the contract. With him in the front, white people wouldn't know they were dealing with a black man, and they would split the revenue.
50-50.
Bernard immediately agreed.
50-50.
Their collaboration went smoothly, and they instantly made huge profits. Bernard also moved from an apartment to a mansion shortly after, giving his beloved family a happy life. But life does not always go smoothly, and challenges can emerge at any moment. The former owner Bernard was working with, who was old and frail, suddenly dies a few years later. His wife inherits his share of the company. This woman is blatantly discriminatory against black people and does not want to cooperate with Bernard. She disdainfully offered to buy Bernard's shares at a very low price, and if he didn't agree, she would sue him. In that era, when a white and a black person sue, who do you think the judge would side with? Unwilling to be treated so harshly, Bernard decides to go to court. But he had to find someone to testify to prove his collaborative relationship with the former owner. He thought of the bank manager, but the manager was already cooperating with the widow and avoided Bernard again. Bernard was deeply disappointed, so he stood at the bank and looked around. The elegant and orderly bank building carried the systemic fangs of discrimination everywhere. Because of his skin color, he was often scorned when entering the bank. Thinking of this, a daring plan gradually crystallized in Bernard's mind. There are 4 banks in one building, and each one closed its doors to this black man. At that moment, a brilliant idea sparked in Bernard's mind. I'm going to buy this building and see which one of you dares to discriminate against me again. So, Bernard met with Joe, another black real estate developer in Los Angeles, and told him his plans. At first, Joe thought he was out of his mind because the land price for the building was too high.
You know there's not a single black-owned building in downtown Los Angeles. And there's a reason for that.
Yeah, we're probably gonna have to overpay to get it.
Tell me something I don't know. Now, convince me.
But after discussing it for a while, Joe found that Bernard was not a delusional man, but a thoughtful, rational one. Why does he want to buy this building? Because as long as he owns the building, the bank inside it will serve him and won't dare to refuse to give him a loan. They will also disclose the trend of the real estate market to him to facilitate his business. Joe was shocked by his idea, but after deep thought, he believed it would work. Even though he is extremely wealthy, he is controlled by white people everywhere. If he can leverage the influence of white bankers on white lands, he will make more money. However, they still cannot negotiate with white people directly, so they need a white person as an agent. In this regard, Bernard has an idea in his mind, Matt, who had been helping him with renovations. This man is honest, very ambitious, but inexperienced. Therefore, Bernard and Joe decide to give Matt a thorough training, teaching him golf, high society etiquette, mathematical thinking, and real estate. Matt lives up to expectations and quickly masters golf. At the golf club, Matt meets the owner of the bank building. Of course, Joe arranges this meeting as well. The conversation goes well, and Matt gets the opportunity to buy the building, and the rest will be negotiated. But Matt does not know how to do that. Don't worry. Before the negotiation, Bernard helps Matt with all the preparations. He first calculates the number of lights lit in the building after dark, calculates its vacancy rate, and then gets the estimated value of the building. Through the building's annual revenue and operating costs, Bernard prepares any relevant numbers and asks Matt to memorize them before meeting the owner. As a result, no matter how the manager lies about his property, Matt is always one step ahead and gives the accurate number, which shocks the manager. The accountant next to him is also stunned. They all think they encountered a math genius and cannot deceive him at all. In the end, Bernard got the building, which was initially priced at over $2.4 million, for only $1.56 million. Since then, whenever Bernard enters or leaves the building, the head of every bank will come to shake his hand. The junior manager who made things difficult for him in the past is shocked. With the support of the banking sector, Bernard and Joe's real estate career rapidly expanded. They single-handedly broke the strict segregation of black and white people in Los Angeles. Many promising young black people moved into white neighborhoods. Shortly after, they were received by the vice president. Several years later, in 1963, Bernard took his family to Texas to visit his father, Britton. After dinner, Britton told Bernard he was proud of his accomplishments. The next day, Bernard wandered around the city with his son. Before they knew it, they were standing in front of the bank where Bernard used to work as a shoe shiner. At that time, Texas was the most racist place in America. They met a little boy polishing shoes, just as Bernard used to do in his youth. To Bernard's surprise, the boy only worked on the shoes of white people. This small incident affected Bernard and woke up his sense of responsibility toward his fellow men. He secretly decided that he must change the status quo and help the black community in his hometown get better housing. The next day, Bernard visited Joe and told him they must buy the Mainland Bank in Texas. Joe thought Bernard had lost his mind for even thinking about it because racism in Texas is so intense. But Bernard managed to show compelling reasons to finalize the purchase. In the end, Joe agreed to help Bernard. They recruit Matt again and use him as their front. They meet the bank owner, Robert Florence Sr. and Jr., to discuss the details of the deal. Despite Florence Jr.'s suspicions, the father sells the bank to Matt and his partners. After acquiring Mainland Bank, Bernard gets to work and helps African Americans in the city get loans. Bernard's goal seems to be to help his peers get a fair shot at housing and even opportunities to make money. Things go well for a while until Florence Jr. starts investigating the loans their bank approves. One day, Florence chases Matt and meets Bernard and Joe. He confronts them about the loans they approved and threatens them with a letter from the U.S. Treasury Department.
They're moving our yearly inspection up 2 quarters. That's a month from now. Because of anonymous reports, we're making unsafe loans.
As Florence Jr. leaves, the men discuss their next steps. During this, Matt raises a suggestion. He proposes they buy another bank and move the distressed loans from Mainland to that bank. They discuss buying Marlin Moore Bank, and Bernard says the main problem is supervising the bank's operations. In response, Matt suggests letting him run the new bank. Bernard expresses discomfort with the idea, but he eventually relents by letting Eunice monitor Matt. In the end, Matt manages to run his bank exactly as he wants. The next day, Matt meets with a lawyer and begins signing the loan contracts at his signal. After a period, Matt receives a call from Florence Jr. about customers wanting to withdraw all their funds from Mainland. To make matters worse, a federal bank examiner arrives at Marlin.
Federal bank examiner just left my office.
I thought that wasn't until next month.
No, I'm at Marlin, not Mainland.
What did he say?
To get the master books out, he's coming back in an hour.
To help Matt, Bernard forces himself to wear a cleaner's uniform so he can get close to him during the meeting. Unfortunately, this makes no difference as the examiner discovers a critical problem with many of the loans. Bernard is in disbelief that the ridiculous loans were approved.
How the hell did these loans get in the package?
I don't know.
Unacceptable.
I looked over every individual loan, Matt. There was nothing over $20,000, nothing over 20 years. Did you look at the loans when you picked them up?
Did you look at the goddamn loan?
Yes, I looked through them, maybe not carefully enough. You know, I read the top sheet.
Unbelievable.
Well, they can't lie on the top sheet.
Matt, there aren't any limiters.
What?
There isn't anything on this top sheet about individual loan limits, dollar amounts, or durations. They're all averages.
How the hell did our lawyer miss that?
Well, I couldn't use O'Keefe.
What?
Bernard checked the property so fast I moved up the purchase date. O'Keefe couldn't make it, so I hired someone else.
Well, how'd you find him?
I asked around.
You asked around. He asked around. What the hell's that mean?
We told you you weren't ready to run your own bank. We told you. You forced our hand, now here we are.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. Who exactly did you ask to find this lawyer? Who, Matt?
Florence.
Florence!
They figure out that Florence Jr. had been doing this all along. After a period, Bernard and Joe tell Matt that the most rational step they can take is to withdraw from Marlin Bank. Unwilling to give up his bank, Matt made a move without telling his partners. Joe found out about his move the next day, so he rushed to Mainland Bank with Bernard. They confronted Matt about the loans while Florence proudly watched the scene. Bernard asked Matt to bring their account books, but it was too late. Federal bank examiners arrived to revoke Mainland Bank's license. As they were leaving the building, the FBI arrested Bernard and Joe. Bernard tried to hold his ground, but to no avail. After a period, Bernard and Joe met with their lawyer. They learned that their case was prolonged due to some racial policies in the country.
So what does that have to do with me?
You want the stated or the unstated version?
Unstated.
We need to change these laws. Now, I mean, quick. Or niggas like these can own banks and loan money to other niggas.
That.
Meanwhile, Matt talked to Senator McClellan about testifying against his partners in exchange for his freedom. Matt pondered his next move that night and made a phone call. Matt followed McClellan's suggestions and testified against his partners at the Senate hearing the next day. Later that day, Bernard also met with McClellan and listened to his suggestion. He gave him an option between accepting an immunity deal and confirming Matt's testimonies, or having Bernard say whatever he wanted and go to jail.
Son, I'm from Arkansas. You don't have to tell me that Negroes sometimes get the short end of the stick.
Sometimes.
In the end, Bernard decided to say the words he had kept in his heart for years. He spoke about the racial discrimination in the country. Shortly after, Bernard and Joe's fortunes were severely hurt after the hearing.
You can't start a business.
Mr. Garrett, you have been warned.
Which means you can't build wealth.
Mr. Garrett!
And you're excluded from the American dream.
Sergeant at Arms, remove the witness.
Why is it so important to you to exclude an entire race of people from the American dream?
The two were also sentenced to federal prison. Meanwhile, Matt Steiner was not charged with any crime. Several years later, Bernard and Joe walk out of prison. Eunice finds it strange that the two men look happy even after losing all their wealth.